streamline digital operations and to develop optimized customer experience. As the head of strategic partnership for Adobe Experience, Southeast Asia, WINS continue to work with customers and partners in the region to drive successful digital transformation. And I'm to welcome him on the stage to share the experience with us. May I have a big round of applause for Mr. Vince Liu ขอเสียงปรบมือต้อนรับค่ะวิทยากรของเราในวันนี้นะคะค่ะคุณ Vince Liu ค่ะ
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Some of you actually travel all the way from Singapore to attend this. My name is Vince. Like the introductions, I've been in digital marketing for the last 20 years. It has not been so exciting in the last few years in terms of how technologies can drive customer experience and leverage on data. So I want to talk to you, no, I'm not going to talk to you about Eiffel Tower. You guys know this, right? So when you look at this, and if you start to look deeper into how some of the information about these structures, you start to see the structures very differently, right? What I'm trying to say is that when you start diving deeper into the bits and pieces of a object, you get to see more insight, and your feeling and emotions with the subjects has changed, right? Do you know that actually the Eiffel Towers will increase up to 7 inches when it has the strongest day of the where reactions to the sun. It actually grows 7 inches. So these are data that actually change your perspective of things. So data is powering the world in a way that we have never imagined before. So my objective today is to hope to put in your mind the importance of data, or about implementing your digital initiative, digital projects. Keep data as the core of your thinking. So some of the interesting trends and that's happening, if you look at this chart itself, we have internet users almost going to 40%, approaching 50%, right? So globally, almost half the populations that are digitals, right? Internet users. And very interestingly is that in terms of users, we are also looking at almost 90% of whoever that's gone on internet. And in Thailand, we have the highest amount of users that's accessing the internet through mobile. But it's also an interesting trend that you want to think about is that if you look at the first circle over there, right, we know that a lot of data is being generated. But if you look at the first circle over there, a lot of data is being generated not by human beings. So as we move towards a smart nation, smart city, a lot of data will be generated by program, generated by data itself, right? Generated between interaction between a hardware and another hardware. So between a machine and another machine. So there'll be immense amount of data that are going to be generated. And we truly live in a very, very digital world. I also want to talk about this so-called unicorn in the market, right? If you guys probably, some of you have been using some of these apps, right? So if you start thinking about Uber, who doesn't own any fleet of cars, Airbnb, who doesn't own any hotels or rooms, and Spotify, you know, I don't know who over here, I use Spotify a lot, where they don't even own any radio stations, but they are billions dollars company, multi-billions dollar. Beside the experience that they deliver to you as a consumers, what do you think is the most important assets that do they have? It's data. I give you a very example in Singapore about Uber. Uber are able to change the fare they offer to the driver based on the demand in different parts of Singapore. So if in the north part of Singapore where there's an increase of demand but there's no car over there, they are able to increase the fare and the reward to the driver and start driving the drivers to go to their regions. That's goal. Ability to understand where the demand and ability to influence the behavior of a driver is goal. And this is why Singapore governments are going to a smart city, into a smart nation, using data to drive the experience and deliver better services. So, and this is partly because we have this group of people, you and I. We are very selfish digital consumer. So I put quote and unquote selfish. Why? We expect transparency. We want it fast. And we want the businesses or the brands to know us. You know, what am I looking for? What am I interested in? What are the situations I'm in right now that you can provide a service or products to me that I want it most? And not only that, right? It's even more challenging for businesses now is that they have the interaction with you across devices in their various aspects of their life. Whether they are just wake up in the morning, going for a run, to traveling or going to office for work, they use different kind of devices. And they expect you as a business or a brand or even from a government perspective to know them, respect them, make technology transparent, and most important is how do you surprise me and delight me at every turn. So what we see today is that we are in the era of experience businesses. We call it the experience business wave. So we have done with the supply chain, right, the ERP. I think for most organizations, they got that sorted out. And that's it about 20 years ago. Make sure we have a system to manage all the enterprise resources. And then about 15 years ago, they go into CRM, right? How do we deal with our customers? Make sure we have a system that we can manage our sales, our sales leads, and all our customers. So that's where the boom times of CRM. Today is about experiences. We need platforms to deliver experiences. So for an experienced business, your audience, knowing your audience is extremely, extremely important. And hence today's topic I want to talk about is how do you use a digital audience platforms? So what is needed for a digital audience platforms? All right? You guys probably involved in some form of projects that involve digital projects, website build, right? Building applications as well. But I want to put your mind today, hopefully after today's sessions, is to think about audiences. And data makes up of audiences. So what is needed? I have a few points, right? So hopefully this is something you can take away today. First thing, create a content with an intent. If you are creating content today, if you are belong to organizations that you are creating content for audiences, whether to the citizens or to the consumers, make sure you create your content with an intent. What does it mean by that? You have to create content with very mindful of what is the stage of the user journey of your customers, of the citizen, from awareness to considerations to purchase, or from knowing about your services to using your services and providing feedback and continue to use your services. All the contents and services that you create, you need to have an intent for it. Be mindful about intent. What is this piece of content that I'm putting up want to achieve? The second point is get the data, right? Once you have your content and you create a content with an intent, then you have a context of the data, of the content. And then you can start collecting data that is relevant to that content. And there are many data that can be collected in all digital touch point, right? If you start thinking about this, you have environments, online behaviors, referrals, where they come from, how they get to the sites, right? And even the time of the day, right? So these are sets of data that is readily there when come to any digital touch point. You should be leveraging on that. You should be collecting that in the context of your content. On the third point is that, yes, you have the content, you have the interactions, and you start collecting data. But one important thing is, I think most organizations have a challenge is, all these data are all over the place, right? They are on their silos. So you need to make sure that you have audience platforms that allow you to put all this data together. Don't leave them in their own place. Put them together and you will start to be able to see your customers clearer, understand the citizens better. And the fourth point I have is let your data go, not throwing it away, okay? If you think about your current data platforms or whatever, the way you collect data, the way you store your data, a lot of times we keep the data and we store it. We're not using it, right? So what if you have data and you start to piece together understanding of your customer? How are you using it? Do you have the platform today that allow you to act on those insights? Is one question that you should be asking. If you know, are you able to act on it? So start doing personalizations, start doing targeting, and start doing retargeting. Let your data go. Let them come out. Let them bring values to your organizations. The fifth point I have, which is the last point, is you should be able to do tests. I'm not talking about UAT or SIT, right? I'm not talking about your system integrations kind of test, but you should be able to test your experience. You should be able to constantly find out what works, what takes, what content actually works, what kind of experience actually make your citizens or your customers react. You should have the ability to test that based on the segments, based on the different content that you created. So these are 5 key points that I give you. Basically, what you want to achieve is the ability to listen, predict, very quickly create that experience with the content that you have, and then deliver it cross-channel. And one of the key important part that you will ask and demand is to be done in real time. No point doing it 6 months later, right? No point doing it. If you know that there's, for example, Pokemon is gone in a month's time. No point knowing there's an audience of people who love Pokemons, but act on it 6 months later down the road. You should be able to act on real time. So we have talked about the platforms. How does a team works when they have a digital audience platforms? All right? So once you get on the platforms, you will start probably thinking about how does it change operationally? How does it change the people that I have in my team? And how do they change the way they work? Right? If you are managing websites today, you are managing digital touch point today, I probably can give you a perspective today that you have never seen before in terms of how platforms should be managed. So I'm going to illustrate this using a customer. Some of the stuff could be a bit fictitious that we put together, but it will get you to the understanding in terms of processes, how the team work as a digital audience platform team, and what do the process that they took. So I'm going to illustrate this with one customer. They are in the travel and hospitality industries. They use a digital audience platforms, which is come from Adobe, and they have a process to it. So every week, they will meet normally on a Monday. For these organizations, for this brand that I worked on before, they meet on the Monday morning, right? First thing to come to your mind is that we have a lot of meetings, but what do we talk about in this meeting? What do they come together and talk about? So hold that thoughts, right? So, when I run through the rest of the slides, you will probably understand what is the discussion of the meeting. So they have a team, right? They have a team of various roles. The first person that kick out into actions is the analyst team, right? And the analyst team is very simple. His job is to identify audiences, is to identify segments. So he will launch the product. I'm going to show you a screen flow here to give you a sense that what we mean by using digital audience. So have a look at this. So when I log into the system, I notice that there's anomalies. Something is not usual. I have an increase in traffic than my usual traffic, right? I want to know, if you look at the further right-hand side, that spike, I want to know what contributed to this spike. Why do I have an increase in traffic today? And I can start diving into it and start to find out that, hey, because there are people looking at certain product, they're reacting to certain campaigns, and they are looking at a specific product category. And the platforms allow me to really quickly find out the reason. And that's not just stop there. Knowing what's the reason is not good enough. It's not about putting into a PowerPoint and present it to your senior managers or your senior management. It's about able to use that opportunity, what we call opportunity here. So the system will then, as an analyst, what I'll do is that then I will start creating a segment out of it. That's my job as an analyst. I don't just create reports. My job is to find opportunities, understand what is happening with the digital ecosystem. So I start creating segments out of it, and I share with my colleagues. My job is done. So what just happened is that I created a real-time segments that is meaningful. So as an analyst, I did my job very well today, right? One afternoon, I actually managed to create 3 segments. So I identified 3 interesting segments from here, and I put on to the marketing cloud. The next day, my job is done, I go home. The next day, the content team came in the office, and the moment they go into the platforms, they noticed that was created by my analyst team. Good job, my analyst team, right? At least it made my job more meaningful. Why? Because now I will be creating content that is targeted to these segments. I'll be speaking to the segment that is important and not coming into the office and just putting content for the sake of putting on content. So I start creating experiences for these segments based on their profile, whether they are business traveler, whether they are families, right? Or they are couples coming in for a honeymoon, for example. So I start creating contents for them, experiences. And mind you, this is not just changing the homepage. It's about different touch point, different level of the digital touch point that you have and the digital content that you have. And me as a team, I have done my job, creating the content and experience for these segments. Now come Wednesday, what happened? Well, I'm going to give you an illustration here, how this can be done. A very quick videos here. That's done by the content team. So as you can see, when we go into the system, I can look at the audiences that was there, right? So these are the audiences that were shared by my colleagues or the different partners that I have. So I start looking at the audiences, and then I can start creating experiences for these audiences. So I go into here, for example, here I want to make some changes to targeted content for these segments. So I want to be able to do targeting for this piece of banners over here or images over here, and I can start looking at these are the segments that I have, and I start doing targeting. So for each segment, I can start very quickly deciding on what are the contents I want them to see. So you can see for now is that when I'm managing experiences, managing content, I'm audience aware. I'm very much audience aware. I have a purpose and an intent when I create these audiences and to give them the relevant experience. So my job is done, right? The analyst has created segments. The content team has created the experience that is relevant to these segments. On the third day, the team that has the most difficult job. Okay, their job is to create conversions. Their job is to make sure people are using the services, people are buying the product, people are consuming the content. That's their job. And they need to use the platforms to be able to do that. So basically, as a team leader, I will tell this KPI team, optimization team, say, if you probably won't get your bonus if you don't have 15% conversions. So that's tough, right? But they has a platforms to achieve that. In today's world, when you are not on a digital audience platform, you can only pray. You can only pray that whatever you put out there, people are reacting to it and they are converting. So what they do is that they take the segments that was created, they take the experience that was created for these segments, and they start optimizing them by doing various kind of testing, right? So they start creating different variations for each segment itself. So for example, who to say that a business traveler will react to an image that is about people meeting, having a meeting in the lounge? No. Perhaps for me, as a business traveler, I'm more interested in how the pool looks like. You know, after a long day meeting, I want to go to the pool or go to the bar. So we use different content to target these segments so that we can get them to convert. I'm going to skip this. Once you be able to convert a person from unknown to known, that's goal, right? Now you know what is my behavior, and better still, now you know who I am. You have my first name, my last name, and even have my email address. You don't just, your job don't just stop there, right? So on the Thursday, the relationship team will come in and start looking at all this conversion that was done by my colleagues, right? I probably have, 50 new people that sign up or buy the product yesterday, or 100 that actually start booking in hotels, right? So I've started to use these informations that was created, these profiles that were created, and I start building a relationship with them. The platforms allow me to have the ability to orchestrate and plan out a flow of interactions, right? So think about this way. Let's say from a bank perspective, a person who signed up a credit card, my job is to make him use the credit card 3 times in the next 100 days. How do you achieve these challenges? The platform will allow you to plan for that. And on Friday which is the last day of the week, everybody's happy, everybody has done the job, right? There's still one more team that haven't done that, this is what we call the media team. So if you deal with medias, if you are doing digital media's buying, you're probably doing it in the blind, right? You're buying your search keywords, you're doing your banners, displays, and you're doing your social ad. You're probably very much doing it in the blinds. But with your digital audience platforms, you can start executing very relevant media executions, taking into considerations of the data that was generated in the last weeks or last days in real time. So this is a team structure and a process that a digital audience platforms uses a digital audience platform to deliver experiences. So come back to the team will meet back again the next Mondays. And if you start thinking about it, what their discussion will be, what segment do we identify? Is the segments valuable or not? Are they reacting to the experience that we deliver? So it's a continuous learning and continuous executions. Now, the team will talk about new idea, new brief, and it's all data-driven. It's not something that you dream about last night. It is all data-driven and uses the platforms to help them with that. So I have another slide here that illustrates how this is like when the front-end users or front-end consumers touches the digital audience platforms. So this is a bank example to illustrate this. So it's a potential customers, and you know nothing about them, right? So if you thought, what I show you just now is the back-end teams driving the digital audience platform. This is the front-end consumers. What are they experiencing? So you know nothing about them. They do a search on a credit card about credit cards. Now you know that they respond to search, maybe respond to your search ad. Their search keyword is credit card, and they also been looking at rewards and travel points. So they did a search. They saw the link on the search result, and they click and go onto the landing page. Because they are customer of the banks, they also log in, right? So they log into the banks as well, and you start to see that as they interact with the business, with the touch point, you start to know more and more about them. right? They know the account summaries, and then the system will then trigger emails knowing their credit profiles, knowing their spending behaviors. They send trigger emails to them where giving them the offer about this credit card. It's a responsive site, of course, because it's delivered by the digital audience platforms. They receive it and look at the emails on the mobile phones. And they were presented with a mobile forms to sign up for this credit card. But he decided not to do that. And they called the call centers. But what's good to here is that the call center have a very clear idea what he's been looking at, what has been the experience delivered to him, and be able to give him the right messages and right offers. And he signed up for the form, and then he got an in-app messaging saying that, welcome, you have signed up for a credit card, your credit card application has been approved. So this is what happened on the front end based on what the digital audience team has done on the back end. So I'm going to close with this, right? While you're looking at digital audience platforms, these are 5 key things that have changed the way you can do your digital marketing and your digital engagements. Make sure the platforms can allow you to understand context, know your audiences, understand where they are at the moment of time, deliver compelling experiences, have a platform that allows easily for you to deliver the content and the experience that you want, seamlessly and effortlessly. Be able to anticipate, be able to know what they will be reacting to in the future, what makes them tick. And the last 2 points to me is the most important that digital audience platform can provide you, because it allows you to have the ability to orchestrate that, allow you to be able to plan the flow of the interactions, right? How do when I sign up for a credit card, 7 days later, give me emails that tell me what offers that I have. Whether I react to the offers or not, give me another SMS messages that, you are in these locations, you might want to use the card to get these offers. So you can able to control the flow and plan out the flows. And the last part to me is what I talk about, optimizations. No longer that you have a platforms that when you push a content up, you can only pray for the conversions to happen, or you only can pray for that people actually use the services. What you can do now, you can actually start doing testing and optimizations. With that, I will end my presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. So, is there any question you would like to make? มีใครต้องการจะถามคำถามไหมคะ สามารถถามได้เลยนะคะ วันนี้คุณวินส์ลิวก็ให้ประสบการณ์นะคะเกี่ยวกับ Digital Audience นะคะหรือผู้ที่จะเป็นผู้ใช้นะคะซึ่งใช้โปรแกรมของ Adobe ในการช่วยจัด segment นะคะจัดตลาดของ Digital Audience ของเรานั่นเองค่ะคุณวินส์ยังบอกถึงการแบ่งเป็น segment นะคะหรือมีการยกตัวอย่างจากโรงแรมที่เคยใช้ระบบด้วยนะคะมีใครสนใจจะถามคำถามไหมคะโอเคถ้าไม่มีขอเสียงปรบมือดังๆให้กับวิทยากรของเราด้วยค่ะคุณวินส์ลิว Thank you very much for sharing the experience ค่ะและช่วงต่อไปค่ะเมื่อสักครู่นี้เป็นการยกตัวอย่างจากโรงแรมหนึ่งที่เป็นลูกค้านะคะของ Adobe System ในการที่มีการประชุมวันจันทร์นะคะนำไอเดียที่เจอมาตลอดอาทิตย์เนี่ยมาประชุมในวันจันทร์วันอังคารวางแผนจาก segment นะคะหลังจากนั้นวันพุธก็นำไอเดียมาใช้หรือ optimize นั่นเองค่ะและสุดท้ายจนมาถึงวันศุกร์นะคะก็นำไอเดียใหม่ๆที่เกิดขึ้นตลอดอาทิตย์ตลอดช่วงเวลาที่ได้ทำงานเนี่ยค่ะมาแชร์กันอีกครั้งหนึ่งเพื่อที่จะวางแผนประชุมต่อไปในวันจันทร์นั่นเองค่ะและนี่เป็นเพียงแค่ส่วนหนึ่งนะคะของ Adobe System ต่อไปดีกว่าค่ะตอนนี้เราเจอแล้วว่ากลุ่มเป้าหมายของเราคือใครต่อไปเราจะมาหาความคิดสร้างสรรค์ดีกว่าบางคนอาจจะบอกว่าเฮ้ยฉันมีไอเดียนะฉันมีความคิดแล้วความคิดสร้างสรรค์ตรงนี้จะเกิดขึ้นได้ยังไงค่ะกับท่านวิทยากรต่อจากนี้นะคะท่านจะมาพูดกับพวกเราค่ะในหัวข้อความคิดสร้างสรรค์เกิดขึ้นได้ทุกที่ทุกเวลาค่ะ Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present you the next speakers because the next speaker is very, very interesting. I have to tell you. The topic that he will be sharing about is creativity is in everywhere and anytime. So therefore, let me give you this introduction about our next speakers. Our next speaker is Mr. Paul Burnett. He's now the Principal Evangelist Creative Cloud Asia Pacific. Before Adobe, our speaker has his own design, web, and video company, MAD, Multimedia Art Design, for many years, and also worked as the Senior APEC Evangelist for Macro Media. With over 25 years of experience in this industry, Paul believed that the clean, simple design, engaging interactivity, and creativity make for a great user experience. And I think now is the time we can meet our speaker on the stage. ขอเสียงปรบมือดังๆต้อนรับสปีกเกอร์ของเราคุณพอลค่ะ Thank you very much, sir. I will look forward to the session.
I hear the voice of the preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith to a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down Parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave wasted on a nice face. In a place of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at the cars. Hey, I wanna get better. Didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better. I wanna get better.
Hello, my name's Paul Burnett, and as you heard, I'm the Principal Creative Cloud Evangelist for Asia Pacific. And my session is all about creativity, all about the cool stuff. So I represent the cool part of the company, all of the creative content. So let's talk a little bit about creativity. Creativity in digital content has never been easier or more difficult. So why do I say that? Why is it easy and difficult at the same time? Well, content is everywhere you go now. Absolutely everywhere. Even when you woke up this morning and you open up your phone, you check your messages. When you walk out onto the street and you get out and you read the newspaper, you maybe read a magazine, you get out your iPad and you start flicking through some websites and some social media. You hop on the train, you're looking at the screens inside the train. You walk along the road and you see the billboards. You walk past a shop and you see the signage on the shop. No matter where you go, everything that you see is likely to have been touched by Adobe creative products. Whether it's digital on phones, mobiles, desktops, whether it's in print, whether it's on movies, on television, just about everything you see has been touched by Adobe products. But also, as you heard Vince talk about, there is an incredible explosion of data in the world, the information that sits behind it. So no longer when I create content now, creative content, I don't just create one lot of content for everybody. I start looking at who specific people are, what they like, what they do, and I create content specifically for them. So every time I create something, I don't just create one lot of content. I have to create lots and lots and lots of different content that is specific for each person that is seeing that media. So it's a scary time for content creators, for creatives, because now we don't just have to create simple, one look. We now have to create content that suits everybody, and companies are really starting to disrupt themselves. And that's what Thailand is doing at the moment, is going through an age of digital disruption. We're really looking at the next stage of digital and how to create content that suits not just everybody, but each individual person in the society. So what's it all about? What's the main focus of all of this? It's all about experience. It's all about individuals experience whenever they see any piece of media, wherever it is, and the experience that they have. So how you feel how many of you have had a bad experience? Maybe you open up your mobile phone and you open up a website, but it hasn't been designed for phones. It's been designed for desktops. So you open up the website and you've got to like scroll in on that, you've got to zoom in on the site. That's a bad experience. Companies, governments, etc., who are creating websites that don't think about these are really creating bad experiences. You really need to think about creating content where the user experience is everything, that what they see suits them, something that they're interested in, things that they like, and making a really nice experience through it. Hello? Yep, can you hear that? No, maybe? Okay. So what I'm talking about is, with Adobe, is Creative Cloud. So Creative Cloud is all of the creative applications that you've known for many, many, many years. Things like Photoshop, InDesign, Premiere, Dreamweaver, all of the tools that allow you to create creative content. Creative Cloud is not what it used to be. Before Creative Cloud, we just had the applications that came in a box. But the Creative Cloud is so much more than that. The Creative Cloud is all of the desktop applications. There's about 15 desktop applications in the Creative Cloud. There's also mobile applications. So there's applications that are running on my mobile phone and also on my tablet device. As well as that, there are all of the cloud services. So there are a whole range of services that support the Creative Cloud that live up in the cloud itself. And a lot of those services are to do with being able to take your assets anywhere, take your content, your images, your fonts, your colors, your brushes, whatever it is that you're working with, to take that wherever you go. So if I'm working on my laptop, I have them all. When I go to my phone, I have them all, my tablet. And then also the third part of the Creative Cloud is collaboration. The ability for me, because I don't just work alone, I don't create alone, the ability for me to take my content and share it with my colleagues so that we can all work on it together. So the Creative Cloud is so much more than just the desktop applications. Also, we've been working on adding a whole range of different features to the Creative Cloud to really make it stronger and allow it to do those things that you need it to do. The first of those is obviously the cloud that I just talked about, where we store a lot of the services, your content, your material, all of that is living in the cloud. The next one that we've added over time is the thing of machine learning. So there's actually an intelligence, and I'll talk more about this in a moment, behind the apps. And I'm going to show you some of that today, some of that machine learning and intelligence behind it. Also that collaboration of being able to work together, share content together, have your colleagues review work, give comments, give feedback, and for you to be able to do iterations on your work. And also, as I mentioned before, the ability for the cloud to work across devices, so on the phone, on tablets, and on your desktop machine. As I mentioned a moment ago, machine learning or artificial intelligence, we've done a lot of work lately with the Creative Cloud and also the other clouds, the Marketing Cloud, as you heard Vince talk about, and the Document Cloud that you'll hear about soon. A lot of artificial intelligence sitting behind those clouds, and we call it Adobe Sensei. And I'm going to show you some of that intelligence today, where the computer is so much more intelligent than I am, and it can do things in such a small, tiny amount of time that would take me ages and ages and ages to do. So these are some of the desktop applications in the Creative Cloud, and you're probably aware of a number of them. I'm just going to show you just a couple of features across a few of those today to give you a bit of an idea of some of the things that we're doing with the Creative Cloud to allow creatives, whether they're designers, photographers, videographers, web designers, web developers, application developers, all of those people to be able to create content. So these are the desktop applications, but also these are mobile applications. These are applications that live on my phone and on my tablet, are all of these ones here. And they work together with the desktop applications so that any content that I create on my phone automatically goes through the cloud and is synced with my desktop. So whatever I create on my mobile, I can then straight away open up Photoshop on my desktop and have that content available to me. And I'll show you that in a moment as well. So Creative Cloud is all of the best apps in the world for creating content. Whether it's web, video, design, photography, all of the applications are the best in class. I talked about that creative sync, so whatever content that you have, photos, images, brushes, colors, fonts, text layouts, all of that content comes with you wherever you go, and it's all synced into the Creative Cloud. So no matter where you go, you have access to it, as do all of your colleagues that you share your content with. As I said, web, design, and video, we have the top applications in the world for each of those areas. For example, even now in our video applications, Hollywood is using our applications to create blockbuster movies. A number of the top movies last year were created solely in Adobe applications. We've also spent a lot of time recently, and I'm going to show you a little bit of this today, of working to be able to very, very quickly design and build applications for mobile devices. And I'm going to show you a little bit of that later on and show you how quick and fast and simple it is to do. Also in the Creative Cloud, not only do you have your own content, but you have access to a whole range of other resources. We have the Adobe Marketplace with images, with vectors, with fonts, etc., all living in a marketplace that is just free for you to be able to use. You can just download content whenever you need it and have access to it. We also have Adobe Stock. We have millions of top photographs and videos, vectors, etc., from artists, top photographers, videographers around the world, available to you to use inside the Creative Cloud as well. So it's also all of the content that you have. And as I mentioned a number of times already, that collaboration, being able to, the most important thing in creativity today is being able to work together. Nobody works in a silo and works on their own. It's that ability to actually share content and work together with your colleagues. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of a demo now and show you some of these, just a few little features, just a handful of features across the product. So let me jump in here, and I'm going to plug my phone in. Okay. So this is, let's just view it up full screen. So this is my mobile phone, and all of these applications on this screen are all Adobe creative applications. These are applications that allow me to create content while I'm. Let's have a look at a couple of them. The first one I'm going to use is Adobe Capture. So with Adobe Capture, I can capture lots of content. The first thing I want to do is capture some colors. So I'm going to capture some new colors from my camera, and I'm going to try and find something colorful. Okay, so maybe this poster here. So while I'm looking at the poster, I might say, okay, let's grab this one here. I want to grab maybe that pink color there. I want to grab that dark blue, the nice dark blue down the bottom. Slightly different shade in there. And now I've got a color swatch that I can use. I capture that, and I can adjust each of those colors on here. I can start to adjust the hues and saturation, etc. And then I can save it, and as soon as I save that, it's now going up to the cloud. And if I come to my desktop and I open up Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, InDesign, doesn't matter what it is, that color swatch is now available to me on here. Okay. Next one I'm going to go to is shapes. So I want to capture a shape. So I'm going to, again, use my camera. And I've got the Creative Cloud down here. And I'm just going to increase the size of that so I get the vector that I like. I'll pull my camera over the top a little bit so I can sort of get it. And that's pretty good. Okay, so now I'm just going to use my finger and get rid of the bits that I don't want. So I'm just going to clean up all of this area around here, get rid of all of these bits. Pretty happy with that. I'm going to click Next. And it's now made a vector Creative Cloud. As soon as I go Next and I save that, that's now gone up to the cloud. And again, it's available. Photoshop, Illustrator, everywhere I go, that's available to me. Okay, the next app I want to show you on here is one called Adobe Comp. And I'm going to create a new design, and I'm going to create it for an iPhone. So let's create an app for an iPhone. Now, I want to build an application, and I want to build it, maybe this event. So I'm just going to use my finger to do it. So the first thing is I want a big banner across the top of the screen. So let's just draw a banner across the top of the screen. Okay? And in fact, I don't like that, so I'm going to get rid of it. What I actually want to do is put a banner up here, and I want to put an image inside it. Okay, that's cool. So let's go and choose the image, and I've got them on my device. And if I go to my camera roll, I've got a library in here. I'm going to choose that, and now I've got the banner at the top of the screen. Inside that, I want to put the logo inside. So let's just draw another box and put a cross inside there. Okay, let's put the logo inside there. It's on my device. And let's choose this as the logo, and let's move that up to the top. Let's just stretch it out a little bit so I've got the whole logo sitting in there. Okay, that's cool. So now I want to put some of the, just stretch that out a little bit. That'll do. Okay, I now want to put some of the speakers that have talked on there. So I'm going to put maybe an image of one of the speakers on here. And let's go and grab an image. Again, it's on my device, I've saved it. Let's jump down here to Integrated, and let's grab one of the speakers sitting in there. Let's just squash that down a little bit. Let's move it around. Now I want to put their title, their name and title on here. So I'm just going to, let's just put a name there, and let's just adjust the size of that a little bit. Place it in there. Okay, now I want to put their title in, so I'll just do a couple of lines. Okay, let's reduce that right down, make it much smaller, and in fact, let's make that really quite small. I want to make this one a little bit larger. Okay, so I'm basically, with my finger, I'm building an application. I can keep going and doing this, and when I'm done, I can send it up to Photoshop, to Illustrator, to Muse, to InDesign, wherever I want to send it, and it straight away goes to my, I don't need that anymore. Straight away goes to my desktop, and I can then open those files up and continue working with them inside Photoshop. Okay, let's jump into the desktop and have a look at a couple of apps inside here. So I just wanted to show you some of the magic that's inside the Adobe products. In fact, let's jump in here to Photoshop. And I've got a photo here that's been taken with a mobile phone. I don't know how many of you have done this. You take a picture with your phone of something beautiful, and as you do it, you move the camera a little bit, and you get a picture that's quite blurry. Yep. So using artificial intelligence inside Photoshop, Adobe Sensei, I can come to the filters. Whoops, let's just grab the layer. I can come into my filters, come down to sharpen, and use shake reduction in here. And as soon as I do that, cool? Okay, so really, really simple, just to be able to remove that like shake from a camera as you take an image. Okay, I want to select this person, to cut her out, like cut around the outside. And I want to put it on a better background. I don't like the sky. The sky is very boring. I want to put it on a nicer sky. The trouble with cutting this girl out is the hair. So I don't have any problems with my hair, but she's got like little fine strands of hair, and I want to be able to cut every single one of these out. Look at these absolutely fine little strands of hair here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a selection tool, grab select and mask. Now, normally before, we're from 5-10 minutes to 20 minutes to cut her out really perfectly so that I just have it. But now, using the Creative Cloud, I can just select her and I can see the hair there. If I grab my Refine Hairbrush tool and I start cleaning up that hair, I'm now getting back all of that individual hairs inside there. Once I click OK, I can then turn on a better background and I've got her on another layer. Like that took me 30 seconds to do. Before that would have taken 5 minutes, 10 minutes, etc. to be able to cut out. Okay. Also the ability to move things. This is artificial intelligence. This is machine learning, where the computer, the Photoshop, etc., is all using Adobe Sensei, which is this artificial intelligence that allows it to do things better. So I'm just going to, on this layer here, just really carefully select that bag, and I'm just going to move it and say, okay, well maybe I'll just grab maybe that bit there and deselect, and it's gone. Now it hasn't just moved that patch. Photoshop has actually looked around it and it's got other content and it's blended the edges in so that there's absolutely no sign of where it was before. It's not just copying and pasting, it's literally using machine learning to look around it at that content. Okay. How many of you have taken a picture like this where there's fog, haze, smog, etc.? What I'm going to do is come underneath, whoops, sorry, just a second. Come underneath my filters and go to the camera raw filter. And underneath effects, I can now just, with a slider, using dehaze, I can now just take that haze out of the image and clear all of that away. Really, really simple. These are the sorts of things that are inside Photoshop, inside all of the Creative Cloud products. Let me jump on, I've got lots more to show you. Say, for example, I've got the Creative Cloud logo here. I'm just going to copy that. Just check I copied it. And I'm going to go back to Photoshop. That's in Illustrator. I'm going back to Photoshop and I'm just going to create a new file. Click Create. And I'm just going to paste that in as a path. And now I have the path inside Illustrator. Now what I'm going to do is underneath 3D, I'm going to create a new extrusion from that 3D layer. I'm going to switch to my 3D layout. And now you'll notice that Photoshop has now created a 3D object inside here. It's a little bit too thick at the moment, so I'm going to pull that back a little bit, make it a little bit thinner. I'm going to come up to the edges and I'm going to make those edges nice and curved. So let's just curve those edges a bit. So now I've got quite a nice, it's still a little bit thick, isn't it? Let's pull it back a little bit longer. Let's just reduce that back a little. Whoa. Okay, that's about right. Pretty happy with that. But once I've created it, what can I do with it? Well, I can use it in other Photoshop artwork. So 2D and 3D, I can mix together in my designs. Or I can come in here and grab that scene and I can come up underneath here to printing and I can now print my file. So I can either print it to a 3D printer or I can also print it out to, I can also print it out to something like Shapeways. I can decide with what I want it in. Let's maybe do it in something like this. And I can see my object there and I can send it off to printers and actually print, whoops, if I come down here, I can actually print that object. And in fact, if I press print now and then out of my computer, if you look at my computer screen here, and the printer's working, and it starts to print out my object, and if I, it's hot. I now have the 3D object printed out of Photoshop in the thing. Okay, whatever. Okay, I just wanted to show you a couple of other things. Let me jump out of Photoshop. Yeah. Okay. And let's get rid of Illustrator as well. Okay. So I want to talk about video for a moment. As I mentioned before, our video products at Adobe are being used by Hollywood, being used by broadcast stations all around the world, including here in Thailand. But I wanted to show you some of the special effects and some of the things, just a little bit of Adobe magic. Now, I've got these two guys here, and if I just play this video, you'll see I've got two guys standing there and their faces, yeah? Okay, I'm going to go back to the beginning of this, and what I want to do is this guy here, I want to track his face, yeah? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a mask. Let's just draw a rough, whoops, sorry. Yeah. Let's grab that layer. Let's grab the mask tool and let's just draw a shape around his face, and I'll just add back the rest of the video. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit this little place button here, play button, and it's going to detect his face. So once I click this, you'll notice that we're detecting the face, the eyes, the nose, the ears, the side of the face, and also the mouth as well. And once I track all of that, so I actually have all of that tracking, you'll notice that along here I now have all of those data points for his face. What can I do with that? What can I do with all of that tracking data? Well, I can add a mask to his face, and now the mask just tracks. So it's just a 2D mask, an image brought in, and it's now tracking to his inside After Effects. So pretty cool, all using Adobe Magic. So I just showed you tracking the face. What else can we do with that? What about if I opened up this called Character Animator? Now this is for creating animations. It's actually been used on television already on live with The Simpsons. The Simpsons actually use this live. Now I'm just going to, if you look up in this corner up here, that's pretty scary, isn't it? I'm just going to track my face, and now you'll notice that the guy in the picture is not only tracking my movements, but he's also talking, using my lip sync, using my voice, and doing all of the mouth shapes. Now that works in any language. It works in Thai as well. And he can just also give you, actually let's do this arm, and he can pat his friend on the shoulder, and I can start to record and animate this. If I want to swap to the other character, then now I'm her and I can do all of the lip sync, the closing, the eyes, the mouth, the voice, and everything as well. That's already been used by The Simpsons live on television in the US to do an episode of The Simpsons. Okay, last thing I want to show you now is a program called XD. Now you saw me start to build an application for a mobile device. I'm going to start to build an application for this really quickly and show you how quick and simple it is to do. So the first thing I'm going to do up on here is I'm just going to use this area for a banner. Now I've actually inside here I've got some assets that I created. So let's see how quick it is to build an application. So here's my background. I want to do another sort of rectangle on here. Let's grab the logo, place it in there. Whoops. And grab the logo, drag it up. Let's just stretch that out a little bit so it's right. There we go. Happy with that. Okay. I've also got these other logos, so let's just squash this down. Actually, I'm going to put these down the bottom. Let's grab these bits up here and let's move those up to the top. Okay, that'll do. Put those at the bottom. I've also got some more logos here. Whoops. Let's drag these on and let's just shrink that down. And place that in here. Okay, now I'm going to do a little circle in here. And I want to put a picture in that, so let's just put the speaker in there that I did before. And then I want to put some text over here, so let's do, I'll just call this name. And let's set the text and make the color black. And I might just stretch that out a little bit further. And let's grab some more text and title, and let's make this make this smaller, I don't know, 15, and let's make it maybe slightly grayer. That'll do. And move the title up here. Cool, okay. Now, there was more than one speaker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of those and I'm going to create a repeat grid. I'm just going to repeat grid that, and then I'm going to add some more speakers. Let's just pull this down in between a little bit, add one more speaker. Oh, let's move this down. Let's move this down. Let's move this up. Let's move this down. Yeah, okay, so now I've got 4 speakers. Can do a little bit more room in between, that'll do. But they're all the same speaker, which is no good. So what I'm going to do